Cobra! Rider System Evolution! Are you ready? Cobra! Cobra! Evol Cobra!
Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the P-Bandai exclusive, or P-Bandai exclusive, SHF Kamen Rider Evol. Now in the main series, in Kamen Rider Build, this guy, everybody calls him Evol, or something with an extra T pronunciation, but in the box and English name, the way how you write it, it's actually Evol, so I'm just gonna go with Evol as well, because I'm pretty sure the Evol or Evol is more of because of the Japanese pronunciation of the name. But once again, here we have a review. So, some time ago, I actually did review his Phase 4, which was the black hole form. And to be fair, it's pretty much almost the identical figure, but the main body and head is the previous design instead of the black hole design. Once again, this is also a second-hand figure. I found a very good deal for this figure, so I couldn't just pass it up, because what you see here right now, Kamen Rider Evol is definitely one of the best villains that we could actually have in the Kamen Rider series. Personally, I would consider, because this was one of those main enemies where the main character could not properly defeat until the end. So definitely a powerful character, and a really interesting character as well, with a crazy background. Anyway, so let's get on to the review right away, because today is also the release of HD Getter Arc, so I want to go get it right away. Alright, so as usual, let's go over components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the rider himself, Kamen Rider Evol. Definitely, basically he's an alien, so because of that, his design of the rider, the armor definitely does not look like it was human made, or definitely not made in Earth. So yeah, he's definitely an alien, and he even has a crazier brother, which I don't believe his SHF has been officially announced yet. So part-wise, we don't get nothing too special. So first of all, let's go over the basics. So number one, we get a good amount of hands. So currently on the figure, I gave him the fist hands. Here are the rest of the hands. So we'll go from, so each we eat one on each side. So here we have a very specific open style hand. This is meant for his signature poses. So that's that. And then here we have another open hand. This is a very typical open hand. And then we have the trigger finger hand. So now there's no weapons that actually come with the figure, but character-wise, he does actually use multiple weapons time to time, but there definitely uses the ones that he uses the trans steam gun time to time. But I really wish it would have come with the figure, but there's no trans steam gun in this. And also when he transforms into a different form, he does use a different weapon, but once again, you have to have the other figure to have that weapon. So just in case, if you have that weapon, this is what you use for those weapons. And on this side, we have one more hand. This is actually a hand with a hole. This is actually meant for the extra handle on the belt. So in the main series, we have these belts where they have these handles where you can actually rotate them around, so you can actually hand crank them. This allows them to use their special abilities or final attack, basically, for those who don't know the gimmick. So yeah, this is a hand dedicated for that handle, which is kind of interesting if you ask me. So we've seen the hands. Let me just get rid of them. And then you might have seen it's in this middle piece here. So in the main series, this character actually kind of absorbs two specific characters. One is a main character, the other one is a sub-main character. So depending on who he absorbed, he can actually transform into their forms. And when you actually transform, you need to actually swap out parts. This is the middle chest piece. So currently the one you see on the main chest, let me just stop rotating, because it's starting to make me dizzy a bit. So on the main chest, you have this part right over here, which actually has this extra antenna thing going on here. So you have to actually swap parts with that extra part that we got here. Give me a moment. So there we go. So you have to swap out that part, and depending on who you go for, you have to swap out the heads and the shoulder parts and the bottle part that goes inside the belt. So currently I'm using the main default one, I think, because the red ones are very hard to differentiate at the moment, or at least on mine. So you have to swap out the bottle parts. But before we actually show you guys that process, let's go over some articulation on this figure. Now once again, I am actually surprised that I am able to own this figure, because in order to I believe Bandai Korea never took pre-orders for this character for some reason. So for me to pre-order this was actually really one of the more expensive figures, if I remember correctly. So definitely about $150 at the time, because I couldn't order from a official website. So yeah, I had to go through a second man. So let's see what we got. So the design overall definitely has that alienish design going on here. Definitely doesn't look like it was human made. The head, his concept, believe it or not, is actually a cobra. So one of his bottles actually represents cobra, and the other one represents rider system. When you put the bottles inside the belt, that's actually what they say. So the head definitely, I am loving the look. So despite the plastic being, it definitely looks clear, but on the other side they actually gave this extra finish going on here, so it doesn't actually, it's not a so you don't actually see through the entire back, but you actually gets blocked up here, so you actually get this nice, you know, snake skin effect going on here on the visor. Definitely they did a pretty good job here. And these white dots here, that's actually not a paint error, that's actually supposed to represent stars. So yeah, so the head can go up pretty well, actually that's a pretty good range, and then go down that much. And then rotation 360, if I force it, it is actually possible. Now this guy being an alien, I'm not sure what if he could do a 360 twist on this head, but still most of the time we see his human form. So yeah. Alright, so now looking at the shoulder parts are, as much as these look like they should be rotating, or in the series they do kind of rotate, but in here they do not rotate, so be careful. I would say these pointy parts are the most, like, you know, fragile parts on the figure, so just be careful. So the arms can go 360 despite the antenna, and then going to the side, actually let me go on this side, because once again, when you're moving this side of the arm, do be careful with the antenna, because I feel like it does actually get in the way with the shoulder armor, so be careful. So you can go to the side about less than 90 degrees, but also that's pretty much a good range. 360 is possible. 360 rotation on the lower arm is possible, and we get a nice decent bend going on here on the shoulder, on the arm. But it could technically go more, but because of the armor designs overall, it is kind of blocking the way. And the hands are your typical SHF style hands, where the ball joint is on the arm and then the hole is in the hands. And I was definitely never, once again, the hands are here. This is actually a fist, and yet he has these spikes popping out, so definitely a deadly weapon if you ask me. Alright, now looking at the main body, we have a nice, oops, something, okay, so I got mine as a second hand. So this one, I personally think you don't really need this, because you can, I've seen people mention that you can attach bottles here, but I tried everything and it does not, you know, work on me. So this is supposed to be attached here on the side of the belt. Now this is my first case where this thing is actually popping out pretty easily compared to other figures I have from the series. But once again, because if you have this, it does kind of hinder the leg articulation here, so I think it's really up to you whether to keep it or not. In the series, in the main series, he does actually carry this around at some point, so yeah. So I'm just gonna, for now, let me just take this off to show you guys the articulation. So the main body, you still have your basic ab crunch going on here. You can go side to side, and then rotation 360 is not possible because everything is just pretty much a tight fit here. And yeah, I think this one, in this case, the belt wraps around the main body pretty well, but once again, we still have that gap here, which I'm not a big fan of these days, but still, oh well. And then on the legs here, or especially on the sides, we have these parts that can flap flap around here. So I'm not sure how they're exactly connected. I'm not really too sure how these work, but because of this aspect, going to the side 90 degrees is going to be slightly difficult going on here. So just be aware of that aspect. And then we get a nice 360 side swivel going on here as well. Well, not exactly 360 because you can't actually rotate 360, but we get a decent side swivel going on here, and the joints are pretty stiff. And then you can go about, let's see, less than 90 degrees to the front, because I think it's just overall the side is on the fat side, and then there's a lot of parts that are colliding in the way, so which is why that's that. Backside wise, you can't go much either, because of the butt section is actually much more, it actually covers up more area compared to the front part, so yeah. Bend wise, we get a nice decent bend going on here on the feet, on the legs, and then feet wise we get a nice I think we get a 360 rotation here, and then we get a nice pivot, and then we get a nice toe bend. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure, so it's definitely, articulation wise, it's pretty much your typical SHF style articulation. So since we don't have any weapons, let me just show you guys an example, like what you're supposed to prepare in order to go to a different form. So currently this is called phase 1. So on phase 2, he kind of absorbs the sub main character, which is Kamen Rider Cross Z, and when he transforms into that form, he becomes phase 2. So yeah, to prepare that, so number 1, I'm going to take off this part. You have to take this chest part off, and then we're going to take off the head part off as well. Now the head is a ball joint, so it should be easy to pull out, but whenever you're pulling out or pushing in the head, always grab front and back as well. Never push from the top, because there's always these pieces that could actually get broken by the pressure. And then after that, you have to take off the shoulder parts as well. They are also on ball joints, so do be aware. So they can be popped off pretty well. I do wish they would make these parts. I'm not. They are kind of sturdy plastic, but I think I would be much more, feeling much more better if these were actually made in like die-cast metal or something like that. So this is like the parts that you need to prepare. And then of course, if you can take off the bottle, which is actually a pretty stiff connection on mine. You take off the bottle, and here is like the basic body form that you need. The rest you basically slap on the head, the shoulder parts, the bottle, and then the chest piece right over here. Let me check if this is the right direction. There we go. So that's how you change the form. So if you want to go to phase 3, that's pretty much the same gimmick. So I'll be right back with phase 2. Okay, I'm back. So here we have his phase 2 form. So basically he absorbed the sub character, this guy here. Now this, not this form, but the user of this guy, he's absorbed him in a kind of in a odd way, but still. And then after that, absorbing it, he was able to now transform it into his phase 2 form. So yeah, definitely he gets a much more slimmer compared to his phase 1 form, because the shoulder armor and overall less spiky areas are popping out of here. So yeah, in this form, I believe he gets more power. Basically, he gets more strength. So yeah, this form is technically powerful than phase 1 form, as far as I know. So yeah, definitely, if you do like the, slim profile, I guess this could work. Now, I would like to point out the head here is actually identical as the one we got as Kamen Rider Great Cross Z. Now, the design and color scheme is exactly the same, but the only thing I was able to figure out is that this one here, the Great Cross Z figure here, this is just a basic, basic paint touch, the basic finish, metallic gloss, but well, I'm not sure if this is considered metallic, but you can see it's just pretty much your shiny paint here. But in this case, we get actually a much more sparkly-ish, a different color tone here. So I found that a little bit interesting. But other than the paint job, it is the identical head here, and then the shoulder armor is also identical now, because of this part is covering it up. But still, these are actually exactly the same type of shoulder armor, but different paint tone here, because this blue is much more darker compared to this one. So just definitely wanted to point it out here. So basically, once this guy was absorbed, his other allies were trying to save him from the absorption. But when he was actually saved, he wasn't able to transform anymore, because basically something got reset on him. So, but later he was able to retransform by taking away this bottle, and then he was able to transform into this form as well. So, which is why I guess it makes sense to have the same designs in terms of the head or shoulder armor as well. So, and this design here, which is actually from him. So, yeah. All right. So, we've seen that. So, I'll be right back with his phase 3 form. So, this is the based on this dragon form. Now, phase 3 is a rabbit form kind of ish going on here. So, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have his phase 3 form, which is based on the rabbit form from the main character. So in this form, he gets much more speed, and even in the series that was actually clearly shown as well. So this head is compared to the dragon form, this head is a unique head. Now this head is only unique to this guy, because so far we never had a form. We technically did have a rabbit form, but the head design sculpt was not this. So it's a different design. So here, yeah. So figure wise, this is the unique head as well. So the only difference here is the bottle that is now changed into red, and then the shoulders are these red shoulders as well, and the chest piece. So the bottle, once again, we get, so because of the Cobra bottle, or the Phase 1 bottle here is also red, it's kind of really hard to tell which one is the rabbit and which one is the Cobra, because the mold isn't that really detailed enough to actually give you the idea. And I almost forgot, for the dragon form, for the dragon form head, if you do have the figure for the Crossy, or Great Crossy, they do come with this sword, so you can actually use this sword on the or for the weapon holding hand if you want to do so. So in this form, he doesn't actually use a sword. He actually uses his own unique weapon, which was the trans steam gun, but which, once again, that gun is not included in the figure, which is, I find it odd here. So once again, this is the form that he happens when he actually absorbs the main character, and he can actually transform into the human form of the main character, but the hair color is different for some reason. I'm not really sure about that aspect, but still, yeah. So once again, compared to the Phase 1 form, definitely a much slimmer look, because you definitely lose a lot of bulk since you're not using these shoulders, and the head is much more simple and basic compared to the Phase 1 Cobra form as well. Now keep in mind, this is the Phase 3 form, which is technically much more faster. I'm not sure in power-wise if it's more powerful than Phase 2, but there is some differences in terms of specs. Now, Phase 4 is the black hole form, which I reviewed some time ago. Now, that pretty much exceeds everything. Like power, strength, defense is much higher off the charts, which actually, which is why the main characters were not able to defeat him time to time properly. And that's pretty much it for the review. So once again, here we had the review of the SHF Kamen Rider Evol. Definitely, they did a pretty good job including all Phase 1, 2, 3 forms as well, but I wish they could have added the weapons as well. I wasn't expecting for the Beat Crosser sword, but at least for the Trans Steam Gun to be included. But other than that, they did a really good job on the figure. The sculpt, the design has been done very well. Pretty much the screen accurate, if you ask me. They did a really good job on the color, because definitely this is one of the more colorful riders in the series, and they could have messed up the paint job, but no, they did a really excellent paint job with the color scheme going on here. So if you're a big fan of the character, which I personally think he's one of the best characters in the series, definitely recommend it if you can find a good price for him. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. This was the review of the Premium Bandai exclusive SHF Kamen Rider Evol. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.